In a big win for property rights in the state of Texas, a judge has banned the city of Dallas's regulations on short-term rentals. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of Texas. Okay, now obviously, short-term rentals they have been really been hit hard by local municipalities throughout the entire country. So many places are trying to ban them or strictly regulate them. We've seen that recently up in New York City. Well, a lot of people don't know this, but Dallas, Texas actually passed some very restrictive laws on short-term rentals as well, right? But those laws they've been overturned by a judge. Okay, the judge found that they violate the state's constitution and they violate the property rights of the owners of those properties. So this is a big win. This is a big win for landlords. This is a big win for short-term rental operators. And at least in part of the country, people still have some sort of common sense. Now, I know what people say, right? They're like, hey, these short-term rentals, they're not good for neighborhoods, etc., right? Well, I am one of those people who believes strongly in property rights and that you should be able to do what you want to with the property that you own. Okay, so if you want to use it as a short term rental, as a long term rental, whatever, you should be allowed to do so. And that by the government coming in and telling you you can't do that, then you're losing a lot of the value of that property. Okay, you're losing, these people, they put millions and millions of dollars into these short-term rentals. They run their whole businesses based on that. And here we got the government coming in and trying to shut it down. And yeah, there's bumps in the road, there's problems with some operators allowing parties, etc., right? But those are things that can be dealt with individually. Okay, if there is a person who owns a property and they are always throwing loud parties, whether they're a short-term rental operator or not, then you need to get on that property owner. The grand majority of the people who are doing, running these things, just like the grand majority of the rest of the landlords, right? They're doing everything right. They're keeping their properties in good shape. They have quiet tenants. There's no problems. But you have a couple of bad apples here and there. And sometimes the bad apples aren't even the owners of the property. Sometimes the bad apples are the guests who go in there and just cause a mess for the people living around there, right? And that's where I feel bad for the people who own the properties, because it isn't their fault if their guests go in there and cause chaos. Okay, so before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Are you surprised that there has been a positive outcome in the battle against all these new regulations against short-term rentals anywhere in the country? Now, it shouldn't surprise you this is coming out of Texas. Okay, Texas is one of those places where they actually still strongly believe in property rights. But, I see the writing on the wall in a lot of parts of the country, and it's very, very negative right now in terms of all the new, just rules and regulations that they're putting on short-term rentals. It's part of the reason why I decided not to invest in them myself, because I was afraid that, hey, this was going to be a sinking ship, essentially. I was jumping on a sinking ship as it was going down. And, I still am very wary of it. And I want to see, what happens as time goes by. And then maybe a few years from now, I'll change my mind. But, I feel bad because I know a lot of people who own short-term rentals. I really do. And a lot of them they own long-term rentals and they own short-term as well. But they have seen a lot of change, especially recently, in terms of the market and the public perception of it, if people even want to use them anymore. And I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that hotels have some sort of alternative, competition. So anyway, let me get into this article because it goes into the details of what exactly happened in Dallas. This article is coming from KERAnews.org, and it says, Dallas County judge blocks city short-term rental regulations. Let's get into it. A Dallas County judge on Wednesday temporarily blocked the city's regulations on short-term rentals. In her order, Judge Monica Purdy sided with STR operators who say the new rules, set to be enforced next week, blatantly violate the state constitution. After months of discussions, the city of Dallas approved regulations in June blocking STRs like VRBO and Airbnb from single-family neighborhoods. The operators must also register listings with the city, obtain a property inspection and certificate of occupancy, and pay fees. Yeah, so it sounds like the regulations they put in place are very similar to what they're suggesting up, or what passed up in New York City, right? I think the only thing that different about the New York City one is that the operator actually has to be living in the property in order to rent, like a spare bedroom, and that those are the only ones that are legal, right? So when governments they put these sort of regulations out there, right? It's not like all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, well, we're out of business, we're done. What we've seen up in New York is the people are finding other ways to list their properties, right? And many of them are listing them on Craigslist or other multi-listing. Yeah, I don't know what they're using, right? But they're using a lot of different ways to advertise their short-term rentals that aren't through a platform such as Airbnb or VRBO, right? So that way they cannot be regulated. They just didn't decide all of a sudden, oh, no, no, we're done. My multi-million dollar investment, I'm just not going to worry about it. They say it's illegal. No, they just decided, hey, we're going to continue to operate even if it's in violation of the law. And they created a black market for short-term rentals. There still is a huge number of people looking for these type of properties in New York when they're staying there. Okay, so obviously there's going to be some sort of market available for those people. Now, if the government goes after them, which I don't know, how likely it is. Maybe they'll go after the really blatant, really big players. But if there are more than they can reasonably go after, then it's very likely that this black market of short-term rentals will continue. So in Dallas, at least for now, they're going to not have to deal with these regulations that were passed, right? And let me continue. The Dallas Short-Term Rental Alliance and other plaintiffs say the ordinance would ban 90% of rentals and punitively regulate the few that may remain. The city argued in a brief last month that Dallas has been inundated in recent years by the rapid proliferation of short-term rentals in residential neighborhoods. As investors rushed into the STR market, Dallas experienced a rapid influx of STRs in single-family neighborhoods, which effectively converted long-term housing into many hotels lodging transient occupants, right? Well, the thing is, when people are visiting a city, a lot of them, they want to stay in a house, okay? There's a reason why short-term rentals are so popular. And saying, hey, we're not going to allow short-term rentals in any single-family neighborhood excludes, especially in a place like Dallas, pretty much the entire city, okay? The only place you're talking about is, well, you could have an STR, but only in deep in downtown, and like, no, no, no. Okay, we really need to be able to allow these short-term rentals. We need to allow these property owners to be able to do what they want. And by you just banning it, you're taking away people's property rights. And I'm not for that. I'm not for that. Even though I don't personally invest in short-term rentals, I believe it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope before they say, hey, maybe we should further regulate long-term rentals as well. That's why I say all landlords should be on board with fighting against these sort of regulations. Okay, they're limiting what we can do with our properties. Some residents who supported the ban say the rentals were a nuisance in their neighborhood, but Judge Purdy said the city's regulations would cause irreparable harm to the plaintiffs. They have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars, excluding mortgages, which exceed millions of dollars, into the STR industry in Dallas, Purdy wrote in her order. The right to conduct STR activity is a vested right in Texas that is a component of home ownership. KERA has reached out to the city's attorney's office for comment. A trial to hear the case is scheduled for June 3rd of 2024. So yeah, things are looking positive, right? Hopefully the landlords there, the property owners there, the short-term rental operators there win their case because, like they said, the judge, I agree 100% with the judge that it's a vested right that is a component of home ownership. Okay? It's hard to believe that in some places they've told people that, hey, you can't rent out your place, and you basically have to, if you're not living there, you can't do anything with it. That's taking away a person's property rights. And at least in the state of Texas, for now, for now, keep that in mind. We'll see what happens after the trial, but at least for now, the property rights are being held intact.